Hello and welcome to MZ Webinars. We're very excited to be joined today by MZ's Executive VP of Global Operations, Andy Derman, and VP of European Sales, Marco Tucci. If you have any questions during the course of the webinar, please put them in the questions box on your control panel, and we will endeavour to get back to those at the end of the presentation. We will be sharing the recording and slides from today in a follow-up email, so keep your eyes open for that. So without any further ado, I'll hand over to you, Andy. Hi, Andy.
Hi, Debbie. Thank you very much. And hello, bonjour, guten tag, buenos dias, buongiorno to you all out there. It's great to have you join us for what is our first European-focused webinar activity. We've done a lot of these in the UK. Through our UK operations, and we were really keen to share some of what we're exploring and learning as we understand the labour market in Europe with you guys, and hopefully this is very helpful. I'm very excited to have Marco joining us as well, and I will introduce Marco as we go through this session and hear what he has to say. So thank you again for joining us. So welcome, it's great to have you along. Just a quick intro in case you're not so familiar or haven't really heard of MZ Burning Glass before. Well, we're on a mission. We're on a very exciting mission. I think that mission aligns with a lot of what you're trying to do, and the chances are you're here because we share a similar goal, a similar mission. We very much want to be the real world-leading authority on understanding the labour market, and particularly understanding where the labour market is going and the future of work. A world that is forever more based on skills and capabilities, as well as qualifications, education, occupations. But really, the labour market is ever becoming more complex, and our view is where there's complexity, we need good data and insight to illuminate what's going on, and that's definitely what we're all about. And we want to then help ultimately with using that information organizations like the ones that you work in to make a real difference on the ground in communities, driving forward better decision making as it relates to education, careers, employment, economic investment, to really maximize opportunities for localities based on their strengths, but also identify ways in which regions can grow as the world around us changes. And so our mission really is to empower organizations like yours with good information, insight about the labor market to make really great decisions to drive forward your regions and communities. And we do that as a data company. So our prime function is to build data that really helps to illuminate the key facets of the labor market. And in summary, and these webinar series are all about illuminating a lot of that and helping you understand what data is available, how it can be used, and where you might apply it to key burning issues that you're facing. And our data ranges from official statistics that help us understand the stock of labor within local labor markets, where how many people are employed in what different types of roles and how's that changing, through to leveraging big data to understand what's driving employer demand, what are the jobs and ultimately skills that employers are seeking, and what skills do the workforce have that can be deployed going forward. And a big part of building usable, useful information is not just having the data itself, but bringing meaning to that data. So we work really hard on building different libraries and taxonomies that help us really understand those facets. And a lot of those libraries and taxonomies we make freely available for others to interact with, so that we can speak a common language and connect the dots between education, employment, and careers together. So excited to showcase some of this as we go forward. Now on to today. The main theme builds on some early work we've been doing, and work we've been doing for a number of years now across Europe, as we start to help illuminate what's happening in local economies, and with particular driver, of course, around the EU Recovery and Resilience Plan. So today we want to really focus on understanding what that plan is and what it means for regions across Europe. We're going to explore how labour market data can be helpful, both in terms of leveraging the funds themselves and then utilising those funds to really drive forward regional economic development. And then we want to showcase a few examples to give you a sense of what's already going on across Europe in a number of regions, and how our data and tools are being leveraged there. And so to do that, I would like to bring my good friend, Marco Tucci, to join us. Marco is based in our Italian Milano office and has been leading a lot of our work across Europe. I should have added, I come from the UK office, hence the rather boring English accent, apologies, but Marco adds so much more Latin flair to this. So Marco, welcome, and thank you for joining us.
Okay, thank you, Debbie, thank you, Andy, for the very nice introduction.
Yeah, you're very welcome. So Marco, tell me, what is this European Union Recovery and Resilience Plan then? What's it all about?
So, introducing the EU Recovery and Resilience Plan in a few words is not a very easy job. Anyway, the aim of the Recovery and Resilience Plan is to mitigate the economic and social impact of the coronavirus pandemic that in Europe, also in UK, has been very devastating. So the aim of the plan is to make European economy and societies more sustainable, resilient, and better prepared for the challenges and the opportunities of the futures, especially for the green economy and the digital transition. The facility is a temporary recovery instrument. So it allows the Commission to raise funds in order to help the member states to implement reforms and investment that are in line with the European priorities. The European priorities are, generally speaking, showed in this chart, and are mainly focused in 6 pillars. These are the 6 main pillars that the European Commission defined as the important pillars for the European program. As you can see, the pillars are not completely divided among them, because as you can see, the policies for next generation, how can you implement policies for the next generation without speaking on digital transformation and so on. So, but these are pillars that would help the member states to implement their own policies. So the European, each single member state has to implement specific actions in order to implement the European recovery plan, but they have to implement, to define national policies according to their specific laws, according to their specific state structure. I mean, in Italy, a lot of government actions are driven by region government agencies. So everyone has to fill in his national law, but these are the key topics that they have to implement. As you can see, all these topics are related in some sense or in another to the labor market, because you can, how can you think to how to implement new green technology for renovating buildings without talking to skills that are needed by the workers that work in the build sector. This is only an example. So this key topics must be declined, informing and really understanding how the labor market is really working, is really acting in your local area, in your local economy. So the real question is, how can I understand my local area, my local region? So this is a key issue. This is a key problem. So
Yeah.
in some sense, the general need can be declined or can be summarized in four different points. So first of all, we must have a clear view and understanding of the economic situation, my local economic situation. I must be able to do comparisons with different areas that a lot of time are perceived as competitors with my local areas, with all my industries that are working in my local territory. And third point that in my mind is, in my opinion, sorry, is very important, is also to increase the citizen awareness, because citizen must be aware of the local situation of their own area, because it's important that the citizen must be, they are an important player of this game. And finally, every decision must be absolutely data-driven, we say, because we must decide, set up our policies according to data, real data, trustable data, and this is our job.
Yeah. Thank you, Marco. That's a really good introduction. And I certainly know from the work we've been doing all around the world, of course, that the COVID pandemic, which has created a scar for all of us, has been a real big challenge. But I think hopefully we can be, whilst understanding the negative challenges we've worked through, of course, it has been a fantastic opportunity for us to reset as economies, as society, and think about what's important to us, but also use it as a great reset to think about where do we want to get to, what does a good life look like, and what does the future look like, and bring together the strands of things that have already been happening, as you say, around technology, AI and digitization, but also that drive towards net zero and the importance investing in the green agenda. And so whilst of course we've come through a period of great disruption and challenge, often it takes periods of great disruption and challenge to drive change and to help us think differently. And so this fund feels like a fantastic opportunity for regions across nations and regions across Europe to really grasp that, make meaningful investments, and as you described really nicely, ultimately the only way we can deliver on a lot of these pillars and these agendas is through the labor market, through people doing great work or people building new skills that allow us to do new kinds of work. And so that really fits very nicely with what I described as our mission as an organization at MZ Burning Glass, in terms of really trying to illuminate that and push forward. And we really want to be, we wanted to showcase that and really think about how we can be helpful to help your regions really leverage this great opportunity. It's a great act now moment, as we say. So thanks for the intro, Marco. What I would love to do is know more about, well, what is it that we're already doing, and how are we already working with regions on these kinds of agendas? Do we have a solution?
Yeah, of course. We have developed a complete solution in order to make better decision, good decision, data-driven, because we are really convinced that it is important, data are very important in order to take a decision. When I try to explain to people what is our tool, I love to do an example. I mean, our tool is like the navigation tool on our car. So we set up a final destination, so we know where we have to go, when we need to go, and we use the navigation to also, if we already know in theory the road, okay, the path, but it is clever to use a tool like that based on real-time data that can help me to find the right faster way and to avoid some traps, traffic, and so to drive into the traffic, or to drive your economy, to drive your organization, basing your decision on the data, it's fundamental. It's a fundamental thing, I think. So you can go there without data. Yes, probably. I don't know, but probably it's a waste of time. You can lose money. You can take the wrong path, the wrong way, the wrong road. So it is the nature of our Talent Observatory. So the Talent Observatory tool is for this.
Nice, thank you, Marco. And having had the pleasure of being chauffeured through Milanese traffic, I know the great value of having a GPS to allow us to avoid the traffic routes. You've helped me get to the office a lot quicker than I otherwise would if I didn't have the knowledge and the data to hand. So that's a great analogy. So we're going to dive into the Talent Observatory now and actually start to showcase actually different types of information that might help us with tracking local recoveries, with understanding and validating what those priorities might be, and obviously bring the evidence forward to help with decision making. So from the first instance, we're going to dive in to think about how labor market researchers and planners, so key decision makers in regions, can be using this information. And you've got a few examples you want to take us through today, don't you, Marco?
Yeah, absolutely. As you said, the Talent Observatory is divided in two parts. The first part is a sort of big dashboards for analysts. This is the dashboard provides a huge amount of data in order to analyze specifically your area. In this first chart, we can view and define the data that we have. So from the time series, and we can also define a short time of analysis, and also we can select, eventually we can select also the sources of the analysis. I mean, the data source, as you said before, can arrive from different sources, and we are also able to split those information among these different sources.
And so just jump in, Marco. So what we're seeing here is online job vacancies. So these are employment opportunities that are being advertised, and we can see how those are trending over time. So when we think about one of the key metrics of tracking our economy, tracking the recovery, is we can see where perhaps employers are feeling more confident, are looking to scale their business, where they will be advertising more jobs, or times of concern where they might be stopping hiring, slowing down their hiring, and therefore the advertising of new jobs will slow down and diminish. And of course, also we've heard a lot globally about the Great Resignation, and a lot of people taking this opportunity to shift gears and shift careers. So of course, as they move on and leave their role, that creates a vacancy that needs to be filled by that employer and drives a job vacancy. So sorry to jump in there. I just wanted to clarify, exactly what we're looking at here as we go.
No, thank you for the clarification. As you can see, we can dip into a graphical analysis. So this is an example that is from our customer, the Basque region. So the data that you are seeing in these charts are arriving from the Basque region. But in this, this is an example. Obviously, the dashboard is an interactive dashboard, so you can click on the single province in order to have to dig into the additional details. But here you can have the picture from of the area, so you can see in which are the location in which are where are published the web job vacancies. You must keep in mind that we are able to jump to arrive to up to the municipality level. Okay, so this is important also because if a single web job vacancies is published in a very tiny, small, specific town in the Basque Country or in whatever it is, we are able to detect the vacancies in order to understand the need of the employer. Okay, in this chart, in this tabs, keep in mind always that these are interactive dashboards. We can have a focus on what are the main industries that are driving the economy in my area. So we can have immediately a good understanding and which are the industry that are leading the economy in my area. Obviously, you can click on I don't know the first at the industry level #1. You can click on manufacturing, and then automatically the system will be updated in the right part of the dashboard with all the industry related. So these are some tabs in which you can investigate your area starting from the occupation point of view. So here we have a general view of the occupation, and so you can understand really which are the occupation in demand actually in this moment. And then when you choose a particular occupation, you can go deeper into the next slide. You can go deeper in the chosen level of ESCO classification. Here we are using ESCO classification because at European level, ESCO classification is the most used, especially for public administration, because it is the standard for the European community. So you can diving into details in this occupation, and into the next slide, we can choose the single ESCO level 4 occupation. In this case, I've chosen the software developers, and in the right part, I can see all the skills that are searched by employers for this specific occupation. So this is a live dashboard, as I said. So we could go down into this chart in order to analyze all the skills that are required from the employers to access to this occupation. So it's an important view to analyze the analyze the occupation. Keep in mind that similarly, in a similar way, we are able, there are a few tabs that for which we are able to do the opposite path. So we can choose, we can start our journey from a single specific skill, and we can ask this to the system, which are the occupations that actually are requiring this skill in order to access the occupations. So all the data can be viewed from a different point of views.
Thank you. Yeah, let me take a pause there as just to refresh, and a really helpful walkthrough. And if we come right back to the key issue at hand here, thinking about tracking recovery in your locality and thinking about really what can we learn from what's happening in our employer community to help us drive forward activities to make sure we can meet that re-emergent demand. So it's great to be able to look over time and see how things are trending more generally, but that doesn't really give us the answers to know what to do about it. It simply gives us a sense of how things are going. The ability to start to drive down into the different localities that are driving growth or otherwise, then really understand the types of employers, the industry setting will help us understand where our niche opportunities are or emergent industries could lie. And then all the way through down into understanding actually what job roles are driving demand, what sorts of talent are employers seeking, and what skills are they seeking within that talent. And of course, the more we can understand what employers are seeking, the more we can then feed that back into education and skills planning to make sure the skills that are being sought by employers are being fed by the system, or we can think about upgrading and upskilling our existing talent and our citizen profile to make sure certainly as those skills employers are demanding change, we can help people change with them. And to your latter point about seeking specific and particular skills, think about the fund and the drive towards technical skills and skills of the future, and particularly green skills. Of course, by looking for where those skills are found in the labor market, we can start to see where we might invest, where those skills are being demanded in the labor market, how we can connect the skills developments to the employers that are seeking those skills, and really make sure that, of course, when we're looking at job vacancies, we're simply looking at an employer's aspiration to hire. There's no guarantee they will fill that role, particularly if the talent is there. Of course, our goal as driving an effective economic engine is that the talent that people are seeking is there. And so if we can get a sense of what they're seeking and the skills they're seeking, we can make sure the talent they're looking for is ready and available to them, or can be upskilled very quickly. So a fantastic walkthrough there. Thank you, Marco. And as you mentioned earlier, what we've looked at there is the ability to take your area and, of course, drill into it and give you the information at your fingertips to really understand what's driving these trends. But actually, when we're thinking about some of the emergent, particularly new emerging industries, it may well be that they're not actually that prevalent currently in your region, and we need to do something about it. And so one of the great ways to think about spurring economic development, particularly innovation in your economy, is to look at where other regions are maybe excelling in this, where there are other regions that seem to have nurtured that economy, and to perhaps look at comparing and contrasting our economies together to work out, well, what are our relative strengths as a region, and what can we learn from others' success to drive that forwards. And so one of the great things about the kind of data infrastructure that we're certainly building is the ability not just to dive into your own area, but compare with others. So we're going to have a little bit of fun here, Marco, because we're going to compare our regions. So I live in England, in Hampshire, very pleasant green, very green because it rains a lot here, of course. So there's a picture, and some of you, if you love your television, will know that's the film set for Downton Abbey, Highclere Castle, which is not far away. Marco, you live in a very different place to me. It's certainly got a different charm, a different prettiness to it, and clearly a lot more industrial. So on the left is Hampshire, where I live in southern England, and on the right is Milan in the Lombardia region. So what we've been able to do is take those two regions, and Marco, you'll be able to tell us a little story about what's similar and what's different between the places that we live.
Yes, this is a short story, because in reality, with our dashboard, you can compare all the dimension of analysis also with other regions. So we have here short few data, and in order we can compare your region and my region from occupation point of view in the first part of on the top left, and but they are quite similar because as we can see, these are software, so are quite similar, but sector are different. In fact, as we know in Lombardia, manufacturing sector is very, very important, so is leading our economy at regional level. As you can see, in your region is quite different. In the right part of the screen, we can analyze the typology of contract and for the contract type and the working hour. This is the Lombardia situation is a typical Italian situation. As you can see, we have more defined, more contract for limited duration and more for part-time than full-time than in your region. So it is only a chart in order to let you understand that all the data that you can have in the previous with the previous tabs you can have you can compare with different area at regional level, but also at a more local area. As an important, we can define the industrial district with a combination of municipality or local area or whatever the customer needs.
And I think the important thing, again, bringing it back to the topic of today and why we're showing you this and hopefully inspiring you to think about the different ways of considering how you might leverage the opportunity the fund brings and why data like this can be helpful is, of course, if Marco and I talk about this a lot, if we were still part of the European Union in the UK, I dare say how my local area would consider bidding and leveraging those funds would be very different, of course, to how the Lombardia region in Italy will think about it, because of course the economic needs are very different based on the different sector mix, the different typology of roles, and the different underlying working practices as well. So of course one size does not fit all, and the whole point of empowering not just nations but regions to take ownership, leveraging the funds to take ownership of how to drive those EU-wide objectives is that clearly different regions will contribute and will be able to contribute in very different ways. So we're just a slight tongue-in-cheek because of course we don't get to participate in that fund anymore, but wanted to kind of showcase the importance of not just looking inwards but thinking about how you can position your region, maximizing and leveraging the strengths, as well as learning from what other regions have done to drive forward some of those key agendas. So thank you for that. And as you mentioned, Marco, the Talent Observatory has kind of two sides to it, 2 dimensions. The first one, of course, in-depth, deep dive for analysts and for policymakers to really get to the nub of what's going on and tracking how things are changing. But as you mentioned, there's also massive value in the ability to then bring your communities with you. And of course, one way to help drive interest and help people understand what's going on and why you're making the policy decisions and putting in process the programs and education programs that you are is of course about bringing your citizens with you on that journey. So Marco, tell us a little bit about that side of things.
Yeah, absolutely. Citizen awareness is a fundamental part of our life because nowadays long life learning, it has become really very important, because we have not only for people that are looking for a new job, but also for maintaining our skill set updated with the labor market. So it's a form of, let me say, stay tuned to the labor market. Stay tuned to the labor market is important for every one of us at every age, because nowadays the things are changing in a so rapid way that it is very important and it is necessary to stay updated with our skill set. And so the citizen awareness must be improved on this side, because the public administration can set up wonderful training plans, 5 years plans, but if citizens don't understand the needs to stay tuned, to stay updated, and it's a loss for our local economy, because human capital is very, very important. I really believe that it is the fundamental key for our companies, for our economies, in order to be ready for the future.
Absolutely. And to that point, actually, just to jump in, Marco, you know, the realities, particularly in an ever more interconnected, globalized world,
Yes.
is if businesses can't find the talent that they need, one of two things are going to happen. They're either going to go out of business because they cannot deliver on what they need to deliver, or more likely, they're going to go somewhere else where that talent, where they can find that talent and go and seek that talent, or and drive forward. So obviously, a key part of it's great for regions to set fantastic and ambitious economic development strategies to ensure that all the programs and projects are in place. But if we can't then encourage people and help them understand why they might need to embrace on those opportunities, then the programs you know, won't succeed. They won't the visible, the sort of making information available to the community is about helping to bring that community with you. And on the screen here we have an example of one such, a different Spanish region this time to the one we mentioned earlier, where they're doing exactly this. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what Acu Catalunya are doing?
Yes, very quickly. Acu Catalunya is an organization in charge of improving the quality of the university studies in Catalonia, but also for growing the citizen awareness, as I said. I don't want to go too much in details, because the Catalan Talent Observatory is open, is free. So after this webinar, Debbie will share with you the URL of the Catalan Observatory. But anyway, here are summarized some important key insights for citizens. So the most important thing to keep in mind that these information are displayed, are put in place in order to be easily understood by citizens, not from analysts that they know ESCO classification or some other taxonomy that citizens are not interested in taxonomies. So they want to understand how their local economy is growing, how his job is going, if they have to improve the quality, the skills, the skill set that they have, and how to do this. So it's This is the importance of the public part of the Talent Observatory.
It's a very good point, Marco, because we have to remember that not everyone is as geeky about labour market data as us at MZ Burning Glass, and of course the value of sharing that with them and democratizing this data within your communities is about making sure that the key pertinent points are easily consumable so that citizens can make key decisions. Of course, planners and researchers, as we saw earlier, will want to dig deeper and understand a bit more about the detail beneath so they can influence that. But yeah, it's a great example, and we'll share more in due course. We've sort of whizzed through the Talent Observatory and thought a little bit about how this then relates to what we were talking about right at the beginning in terms of the resilience and recovery fund. So do you want to quickly just sum up before I share a few further thoughts and some resources that we'd like to point people towards?
Yeah. The main key point I think that are these three points. So first of all, you need really to understand your area in order to help you to implement solutions that tackle high unemployment, low growth, widening inequalities. So you need to understand your area in order to do all these things. Second, for my experience, you must provide robust evidence base to include in bids for funding for every type of request for funding that you are doing, because evidence base is the key point here in order to get the fund. And the third is the point that I've just said: deployers and job seekers insight on which are the jobs and skills in demand. So the citizen awareness and the public administration transparencies.
Great, thank you, Marco. I appreciate it. I'm very grateful for you sharing your wisdom and experience in this field. So we would love to share some resources for you. If you haven't found this already, I'd encourage you and say we will circulate the URL for you after the event. But head to the Talent Observatory page where you can access that link through to have a play with the citizen example that we mentioned. But we would love to help you understand your area as well. And so Marco and his team are very much able and willing to dive into your area and share a few insights and tidbits. So if you head onto that page, click the request a demo button, we can show you your own data and you can have a little play with that. And we hope that you can see a good value in having that kind of information. And once you've had a little play with it, we'd love to talk to you about how we can get you accessing that information for your own plans, your own strategies, your own bids and opportunities as well, to help drive forward your area and really put the information at your fingertips so that you can really make a difference in your community and drive forward a great response to the great challenges that we face there. So please do reach out. We don't bite. We won't be horribly salesy. We just really show you your information, and hopefully you can find that of great value. We have a number of resources and actually an exciting plan. I can't share too much now, but in the coming weeks, a whole raft of new resources that we're building to really help people understand their local areas a bit more and dive into some of these topics and actually start to think about some of the key themes that Marco shared with us around different agendas in the labour market, around the green agenda and understanding technology demands from employers, etc. So we'll share more in due course, but over the next few weeks we do have a few other webinars as we continue to start to illuminate some of the kind of key aspects of understanding the labour market. And our next session together is later this month, where we're actually going to be focusing on and sharing examples of how education institutions are leveraging data, like the data that you've seen today, to actually help students think about their career choices and think about the skills, how the skills that they're learning are aligning to where they're in demand and which employers are seeking them, and other skills that they're looking for as well, so they can maximize the value of their studies as they look to the labor market. So we're excited to share a few examples and showcase some examples there. And then later on, as we come into June, we're actually we're working on pulling together a customer or two to kind of talk to you about what they're doing. So rather than listening to us whittle on about all the things you should be doing, we can actually hopefully bring forward a customer or two, and we're just confirming exactly who that'll be and the date for that, and based on their availability, where they can actually showcase a few real examples of what they're doing to leverage data to drive real change in their community. And we're very excited to bring that. So thank you. That's it from us. I'm just looking at the time. We probably don't need to hold you any longer. If you did submit questions, Debbie will share them with us, and we'll be able to come back to you as we go. But I hope you found that useful, and we look forward to welcoming you to future webinars, and particularly as we start to bring more resources available that we want to point you towards. So thanks again for your time. Thank you, Marco, for joining us today on your MZ Burning Glass webinar debut. A great debut. Well done. And thank you, Debbie, as always, for looking after us and helping share the information with our viewers. So thank you very much, and have a great rest of your day.